reef. So
Oh, that's a
three
tuna.
different types of
big
reefs.
tuna.
There's fringing reefs, ribbon reefs, and patch reefs.
This is a big
so
tuna
patch reefs
fish.
are the majority of the reef systems that make up the Great Barrier Reef, and they're normally long circular or horseshoe shapes. And then in the middle of the horseshoe shape, it'll have a sandy build-up or a lagoon area. So the Green Island Reef here has that sandy build-up. Over time it got higher and higher till one day become exposed out of the water. Now when this happened, local seabirds would start to frequent the sand cay here. And their
Viewers, you can see the reef,
reef.
Great Barrier Reef.
Now Green Island is very unique in the fact that it's the only sand cay in the world with rainforest vegetation growing on it. Now the other two reef systems, the fringing reef and the ribbon reefs. The fringing reef, they're reefs that surround continental islands or coral islands. So a good example of that is Fitzroy Island, just over there folks. So Fitzroy Island is known as a continental island. It has a reef that surrounds it the whole way around. Now this big island here also has reef that surrounds past it as well. Does anybody know what that big island is called? No, close. It starts with the letter A. Australia, that's right. Now the last reef system, the ribbon reefs, they are located up north of the coast of a town called Cooktown. Like their name suggests, long ribbon-like shapes. Can be several kilometres in length, but generally only about 100 to 200 metres wide. Now we have two different types of coral on the Great Barrier Reef, folks. We've got hard corals and soft corals, and it's very easy to tell the difference between the two. So the hard corals are the ones that are standing still. Soft corals will be the ones that move about in the currents. Now the main difference between the two corals is what they're made out of. So the hard corals have a calcium carbonate or a limestone skeleton, and the soft corals, they have a hydroskeleton. So they're made up of about 90% water. Clam there, just back here guys. Probably see a few of these around on the tour. Clam there. So if you can see into the fleshy part of the clam, it has two holes. So one of the holes in the clam sucks in water, the other hole blows out. What the clam's trying to do is filter out the water for any coral polyps or plankton floating around. That's what they're going to feed on. Now that clam's probably halfway through its life, so it can still got a little bit more growing to do. Once they are fully grown, they can filter 50,000 litres of water per day. Now some of your common corals down there guys, we've got the plate coral, so that's the flat, circular, disc-shaped one. And a close relation to the plate coral is the stag horn coral. So this one here looks like the horns on a stag or a deer, a little bit like a little tree without any leaves on it. Now these two corals are the fastest growing corals. They average 30 centimetres a year, but in some cases have been known to grow up to nearly 60 centimetres in just 1 year's time. Now, although these two corals are very fast growing, they're quite fragile. So if a storm or a cyclone passes through the area, they're generally the first two corals to be damaged, but because they have that fast growing ability, they're then the first corals to replenish the reef after one of these events. Now there's a good example of a soft coral there guys. You can see that orangey browny one there swaying about in the currents. Looks a little bit like strands of spaghetti. Well, I'll give you a wild guess what we'd name that one. Spaghetti coral, good guess, 10 points for everyone. Now you can see how it waves around in the currents there. I always wave back, otherwise the sea will get salty. Now along the bottom there, you probably noticed the sort of dead coral or a broken up coral. It doesn't really look like much, but it is a very important part of the reef. So around November or the 11th full moon of the year, we have a event called coral spawning. So the coral releases all these eggs into the water. They do their thing, it sinks down, then it grows fresh new coral. Now when this happens, it can't just grow out of the sand. It does need something hard to attach itself to. So that old dead coral along the bottom there provides a perfect framework for the new coral to start growing. Now we just passed back here a couple of slugs along the sea floor. You probably see quite a fair few of these around. They are quite common. They're called the sea cucumber. Now the sea cucumber is like the vacuum of the sea. They'll go around on the sea floor there, filtering through all the sand along the bottom, and they're going to take out any nutrients available. Now believe it or not, there's actually a fish that lives inside of the sea cucumber. Now that little fish's front door is the sea cucumber's back door. So yes, lives inside of its bum. Now you're probably wondering, why would a fish want to live in there? Well, the sea cucumber doesn't have any underwater predators at all. So it is literally the safest place to be underwater. Now the sea cucumber was one of Australia's first ever exports. So Green Island here used to be a sea cucumber processing centre where divers would head out and catch them and bring back to the island there. They would cook them up and cure them and get shipped off to places like China and Taiwan. They are considered a delicacy. Personally though, I've tried the sea cucumber and I do not recommend it. It's the grossest thing I've ever eaten. Barrier Reef is actually the largest living thing in the world. It stretches over 2,500 kilometres long. Now it starts north of Australia in the Fly River in Papua New Guinea there. It goes through the Torres Strait Islands up to Cape York. Then it goes all the way down the Queensland coast, nearly all the way to the Queensland, New South Wales border. Finishes off the coast of a town called Bundaberg. The most southern point is an island called Lady Elliot Island. Now unlike its name suggests, it's not one long continuous barrier. It's actually made up of 2,904 individually named reefs, and over 900 coral bays and coral islands, much like Green Island and Fitzroy Island. Now the Great Barrier Reef is so big, folks, that it's visible from outer space. So the next time you go up there, you'll be able to easily see it.
Oh, look at that big, that's a big parrotfish.
Now we have about 600 different species of corals, so about 400 hard corals, 200 soft corals. We also have about 1,700 different species of fish, about 300 different species of sharks and rays. We're really lucky on the Great Barrier Reef. We get 6 out of 7 species of marine sea turtle called nest somewhere here in the marine park. So every year we get quite a fair few turtles laying their eggs at Green Island here. And an interesting fact about the turtles, the females anyway, they return to the same beach that they were born on when they're ready to lay their eggs, and their offspring will also return to that same beach as well. Now the temperature that the eggs are laid in will determine the gender of the hatchlings. So the cooler sands will produce male eggs, the warmer sands will produce female eggs. Creates a bit of a shadow, and he actually hides in that shadow there. And when there's a little fish swimming the wrong way, Trevor will swim out and he'll score himself a free lunch.
Well, there's a big can.
supporters, but here in Australia we call them Collingwood supporters. Now, if you look closely, they have no teeth, much like a Collingwood supporter.
Do you call those fish tigers?
They're called batfish, that one there, with a sort of the larger yellow sort of tail on it. They've got that sort of mohawk fin as well.
Got yellow and black and the tigers.
We've got a parrotfish down here as well, that bright bluey green coloured one. There it is.
We didn't see any
So the
sharks.
parrotfish, they're pretty cool. They're called parrotfish for a few different reasons. One of the reasons is the nice bright bluey green colours they have. Another reason is the way they flap their fins underwater. Looks like a bird flying. And the third reason is they don't have teeth at the front of their mouth. They've got a fused together beak. Now with this beak, they use it to scrape off the algae and the bacteria that grows on the outside of the coral. Quite often they can bite off large chunks of the coral, and then at the back of their jaw, they'll have another set of teeth there where they can crush and grind it all up. It'll go through their system, and then out their other end they'll pass sand. So parrotfish are actually one of the largest producers of sand out here on the reef, approximately 50 to 60%. So the next time you go on a beach nearby and you're just kicking back and relaxing, have a little think about where all the sand's come from.
Will we see any reef sharks?
Maybe, I can't guarantee reef sharks. They're normally sleeping during the day, so they're nocturnal feeders. Every now and then we do see them. You've probably got a better chance to see them at the fish feed this afternoon, off the back deck of the big cat there. It's at 3:30. Sometimes we get a shark that'll pop up for that. Now I've got the trevallies down there as well, so they're the same type of fish as Trevor, that big one that was following us before. Obviously these ones are still juvenile, so they're quite small. Now those trevallies, they can grow pretty big, about 2 meters in length and nearly 100 kilos in weight, about the same size as me, not as strong as me.
Why do the flat ones like line up against the glass?
So they actually feed on the algae that grows on the bottom of the boat. It's a little service we provide for them. We call it Meals on Keels. Now these trevallies, guys, you'll see that they're a completely different design to all the other fish down there. They've got that really long triangular tail, so you can see on Trevor here, you can see how big that tail is. That's where they get all their speed from. Now the trevally is one of the fastest fish in the ocean. They can get up to about 60, 70 kilometers per hour with a couple of kicks of their tail. Now you'll also see they have that very long pectoral fins, or the fins on the side of their body, so they can turn very sharply underwater. You can also tuck those fins in if they need to go fast and be nice and streamlined. Now you'll also see that their eyes are on the top of their head, so they have very good eyesight. Now the reason for the eyes being situated where they are, because they're open water predators. So these ones are just juveniles. Once they get a bit bigger, they move out into the open waters. So when they're feeding, they'll find a bait ball of sardines or pilchards or something like that. They work it up to the surface and they keep it nice and tight together, and they stay underneath looking up. And then how they feed is they literally swim straight into that bait ball as hard and as fast as they can. Now they can hit that bait ball so hard that it can kill some of the bait fish on impact. Now we're going to chuck in a little bit of fish food here, guys, so we'll see how fast, how good the eyesight is of the trevally there. So everyone on the right hand side here, you pop your head over the side there, chuck a bit of food out there. Luckily for them, they live in a green zone though, so you're not allowed to do any kind of fishing activities here. You go to a restaurant nearby. why you see the speckled emperor on the menu or its close cousin, the red emperor. I highly recommend that one of my favourite fish to eat. Now there's another fish here earlier, he's the opposite to the speckled emperor. Not very yummy at all. In fact, if you were to eat him, you get very, very sick. There he is up the front there or in the middle, sort of got a bit of a red tinge and a yellow eye. So that one's called the red bass. So they're full of a toxin called ciguatera. So if you were to eat a red bass, you'd get very, very sick. In some cases, you can die. Now, that ciguatera is basically a build-up of mercury, and they get it from eating all the smaller fish. And the smaller fish, they get it from eating the algae and the bacteria that grows on the coral. Now, the reason why the red bass has the highest amount of this ciguatera is because they're one of the oldest living fish. So they average 50 years, pretty much double all the other fish. And they're averaging about 20 or 25 years. So the sand right now is about 4.36 meters. That's a guess.
How high do we sort of go across the reef?
Sorry?
Like what kind of light like say we go across the reef? Yeah.
So on top of this bobby here, we've got at least 1.5 to 2 meters underneath us. Because of the way the glass is situated, it looks a lot closer. So maybe back here, it's probably closer to about 1.5 to a meter. But I know with the tide height, I know I'm pretty safe to go over here. Sometimes when it's a really low tide, it almost looks like on the glasswater boat that I'm on top of the reef, but there's still about a foot of clearance underneath. It's because of the way the hull's shaped, and when you have water touching glass, it will magnify it slightly. So it does look a little bit closer than what it is. They can grow up to the HAT, which is the highest astronomical height. We've got a turtle here, guys.
There he is, he's swimming under deck.
That's a little green sea turtle. They're a little female green sea turtle. I'll try and turn the boat around, guys.
Thank you.
That's a better.
Turn around, right. So you can see it.
Alright, keep your eyes peeled, guys. First person who spots a turtle will win a prize. Okay, it'll be coming up here, somewhere around here, folks.
Good eye out. The sea slug. Yeah, I think he was back in the, not in the deeper bit.
Is this sea cucumber? It's on the floor. It's big. Wow.
We'll continue on, hopefully we'll see another one.
And report.
Sorry? Only in warm tropical areas. So the corals can only live between 18 and 32 degrees. So if it goes below 18, coral will die. If it goes past 32, the coral will die. So right now it's about 29, 30.
Corals be puffy.
That's right.
What starfish?
So I just passed over a yellow fish back here. It's called the butterfly. butterfly fish. You've probably seen a few of them around today. They are pretty common. And they're really easy to spot. They're bright yellow in colour. And whenever you see them, they'll be swimming around in pairs. So they form monogamous pairs or mating pairs for life. So once a male finds a female, he's going to stay with her and mate only with her for the rest of their lives. Now, quite sadly though, one of those fish dies in the relationship. The other fish will then die of a broken heart. But I guess they've never heard of the phrase "putting fish to sea." Now, unfortunately though, folks, that is pretty much the end of the glass water boat tour. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. Any questions at all before we head back in? Still missing.
I saw a pink and yellow fish back there under the coral. Like yellow and what's it called?
How are they? They know they stay in there. They can't live outside. Now, before we head back, guys, who wants to hear a fish joke? Alright, so when the tuna are migrating north from the southern borders of Australia, does anybody know why they stop in Townsville? Because if they go any further, they'll end up in Cairns.
End up in like Cairns and then they'll also end up in Cairns like really
আমরা আমাদের ম্যারিন বায়োলজিস্টের শুনলাম। এখন আমরা ফিরে যাচ্ছি আমাদের বড় বোটে, যেটা দিয়ে আমরা ক্লিয়ারেন্স শহরে ফিরে যাব। আবার দেখা হবে কোনো এক এপিসোডে। সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ। সাথে থাকবেন, সাথে রাখবেন, সাবস্ক্রাইব করতে ভুলবেন না। ধন্যবাদ।